Hello, and welcome to another segment of An Unscripted Moment. Today, I'm going to title this segment Reasonable Men. So, in the event of a post event collapse, and whether we be talking about a political, societal, industrial, doesn't really matter what spurs the collapse. But when we get to the point where, society's broken down and we're all surviving, fighting to survive, right? And so a lot of us believe that, any number of things could spur this kind of event. Who are you going to be when that time comes? What is your obligation to your fellow man, to others, right? So, of course, the easy answer is you have no obligation. I mean, they weren't prepared, and too bad for them, right? And I get that. People should be preparing now. They should be working on their skills and, building up resources of food and water and whatever else they're going to need, a means to purify water, means to grow or sustain themselves on the food front. But it's not always that clear, right? It's not always that easy. Like in the weekly series that I produce, doing it for over a year, a lot of you that are listening now are subscribers to my channel and probably are aware of that. This past week, we had a woman, I wrote in a character of a young woman who had two small kids, and they were basically refugees. And the group took them in. But there was a little question, right? What's our responsibility to these people? So let's just paint these people in the best light. I mean, it could be anything, but maybe they were preppers. Maybe their group stole and imploded upon itself and took all their stuff and kicked them out. Maybe the husband was a prepper and, he was set up to do all these things and got killed, right? Left them alone, left the woman and the kids alone. So there's a number of situations that could cause them to be there in that point where they weren't necessarily just irresponsible or ill-prepared. They were victims of this new dynamic, this new paradigm, right, of everybody fighting each other to survive. And so now you come across these people and they're out there, right? What's your obligation to them? What do? You turn them away? And I mean, I get it, okay, so we have limited supplies. We can't feed everybody. We can't just put a sign up and start taking refugees. I mean, in certain situations, do those rules need to be relaxed a little or, just be general guidelines rather than hard, fast rules? I don't know. I guess that's for each individual to answer for themselves. If I'm, traveling with my lawnmower, pulling a trailer, and it's me and my wife, and we have 6 months worth of food stashed up in the trailer, or however, 6 weeks even, and we come across a young lady with two kids, they're starving, through no fault of their own, probably, right? What do you do? What do we do, right? What do we do? So I'm pretty sure I know what I would do, but that's for each person to answer for themselves. So I just think it's stuff to consider, right? It's the title of the segment is A Reasonable Man, right? Who are you going to be? You going to be a reasonable person? How are you going to act when you encounter other groups, other people, other individuals? Shoot first, ask questions later? Or, you're going to be a reasonable person. And so, of course, again, that line, that balance is sharp because we want to be reasonable people, but at the same time, we have an obligation to protect ourselves and our families. So how do you mesh that together in your mind? How do you mesh that together, into your actions at the time? right? Or do you not? Do you not consider it? Do you just take that hard line, like someone's coming up to the door, shoot them, right? I don't know. I mean, I don't think so, but again, it could be different for everybody. I also think it's easy to take the stance of this is what I'm going to do in that situation. But I think when we're in that situation, when the reality of it hits us, we may look at things differently. So I just encourage everybody, be a reasonable person. Keep some sense of humanity, some semblance of humanity. Who are you going to be during that time? Just think about that. Ponder that. There was a movie I watched quite a while ago. It's called, I think, Defiance, with Daniel Craig. I think that's the actor's name. He might have been I believe he played one of the James Bond characters at one time. But this movie, I want to say, was made in the 80s, but it was based on a true story, and it was in Russia. These brothers, set during like World War II times, and their parents had gotten killed. Their farm was raided, overrun, and they flee into the woods, and they face a lot of those same situations. They end up taking on a lot of different people fleeing from the Nazis, a lot of the Jewish people, a lot of, basically refugees. And it's very thought-provoking movie how they deal with those people. They end up taking everybody, and they end up going through the woods and surviving for a few years with hundreds of people. And they actually built a society, and they were nomadic because as situations called for, they had to basically pick up and leave, at any given time. And in the end, they end up having, schools and medical clinics, and they really made a success of it. But they had a lot of those struggles, and two of the brothers ended up being at odds with each other. One thought like it's our job as humane people, to take in our fellow man, to do what we can to help everybody. And then the other brother was like, no, it's us. We got to take care of ourselves, to heck with everybody else. And so it kind of shows that struggle. It shows that that whole dynamic of, what's right as opposed to, wanting to survive. And it is a really good movie, and it just spurs a lot of thought, and very, very thought-provoking movie, and shows a lot of those things in play. And I recommend it. It was called Defiance, I'm pretty sure was the name of it. And Daniel Craig was the one of the lead characters. So it's probably pretty easy to find. I don't know if it's on Netflix or whatever, but I'm sure it could be rented. But anyway, that's my thoughts for today. Reasonable men. Who are you going to be in a post-event collapse survival situation? Thanks for watching. God bless you.